hi, don't mind me. Just playing another riveting AAA experience here on the good old-fashioned Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I hate to say it, but this thing's on its last legs. Luckily, the Nintendo Switch 2 is just around the corner, so let's talk about that for a bit.
Despite the copious amounts of leaks for this thing, we still don't have a ton of 100% confirmed features. So what exactly do we know about the system? Well, for one, we know it's going to be backwards compatible with all, or I guess most, Nintendo Switch games, minus, I guess, Nintendo Labo and a couple weird ones, which, you know, makes sense. It is the direct sequel to the Switch, kind of like the DS to the GBA, or up a generation with the DS to 3DS, or Wii and Wii U. There's also been some rumors that big-name games from the Switch, like Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, will be getting some sort of day one patch that will some way improve the visuals and performance, and you know, I'm all here for that. The Switch's library is just wicked good, and if Nintendo can get people, myself included, to jump back into those older Switch titles, then I'm all in for that. Now, while on the topic of graphical upgrades, I guess it's time to discuss the Switch 2's potential computational upgrades.
But once again, nothing is confirmed. We've been hearing for years, and just the general consensus from leaks and everything, that it'll be on par with the PS4, PS4 Pro, or even Xbox Series X. And if that's true, I'm all here for that.
Now, some geniuses on Twitter.com will love to bitch about how this isn't powerful enough, but like, no man. Look at the state the PS5 and Xbox Series X are in now. Nintendo is absolutely schlonging them. Barely any game throughput, and a lot of what does come out is riddled with bugs and disgusting file sizes. Not to mention that 5 damn years in, and the PS4 and Xbox One are still getting dual releases with their Gen 9 counterparts. Now, whether or not that's actually a bad thing is a whole nother discussion, but the point is, anything past a PS4 Pro level of power is kind of frivolous. Like, yeah, that one Matrix Unreal Engine 5 demo from 5 years ago was pretty cool, but I think it's safe to say that gaming has gotten to the point where the previous gen's level of processing power is plenty, especially for a handheld system, and one that shouldn't cost 3 kidneys to buy, looking at you, PS5 Pro.
And while we're on the topic of hardware, I guess now is a good time to discuss the controllers for this thing.
As we saw in the reveal trailer, Switch 2 is rocking a slick new pair of Joy-Cons, both packing some new features. Now, all this is good and all, I do hope the Switch 2 will be able to connect to the original Switch Joy-Cons, akin to how the Wiimotes could be connected to the Wii U. Of course, Nintendo could release some sort of peripheral accessory, so I could see that being a possibility, or maybe even simply just requiring it to charge with the charging grip or the original console. Honestly, if this doesn't come to fruition, it wouldn't be that much of a deal breaker for me. Now, I will say, I will be slightly more disappointed if the Switch Pro controller won't be able to connect to Switch 2. Man, I love this thing. It's become one of my favorite controllers ever. Of course, I assume Nintendo will be releasing some sort of Switch 2 Pro controller. It's just always nice to have extra controllers, you know. Anyhow, let's get back to these new Joy-Con because they seem to be packing some sick new features. Immediately noticeable is the fact they are magnetically attached, and if I have to be honest, I'm a little worried how this will work. I remember hearing a while back when this was first rumored and thinking it sounded really neat, but I was also a bit skeptical as well. I will note that I also remember Nintendo saying in some interview somewhere a long time ago that this was originally the plan for the Nintendo Switch, but they couldn't figure it out back in 2017. But I'm sure they've gotten figured out now. We'll just have to see how strong they are when it comes out, I suppose. I'm a little worried that I could hold the system sideways and it'll fall down, but again, I assume Nintendo has thought through everything already. The more intriguing feature with the Switch 2 Joy-Cons has to be the fact that Seeming will be able to act as mice, which, damn, this totally feels just so Nintendo. Now, to be fair, this feature is still as of now unannounced, but between both leaks and this official trailer, that I think it's pretty obvious that it's all but confirmed. I'm excited to see what they can do with this, though. So many possibilities.
Last bit of hardware I want to touch up on is the ever-elusive C button.
This thing first popped up in leaked renders of the Switch 2 a good while before the official reveal. It immediately sparked intrigue, of course, even more so when the official reveal came, and if you look carefully in Nintendo's official render, you can see, what the hell? Yeah, they took it out in the official reveal. I'm not sure if Nintendo's trying to hide something here or not, but it makes things even more interesting. I should also note that in newer renders of the Switch 2 just released a couple days ago that the C button is back and fully visible, so what the hell does this thing do? Well, some people seem to think that it could be a connect button with multiple different interpretations of what that could mean. Some have said connect could mean that it's some sort of social feature. You know, that the capture button is returning, but this could be some sort of quick share feature or even some sort of voice chat. Others have said that it could be used to connect multiple systems together for either some sort of local multiplayer or even like data sharing or something. But the most out there and my personal favorite is that this streams the console while in handheld to the dock so that you can play both on the TV and in the handheld simultaneously, and you know what they say, you can kill the man but not the idea. Seriously though, this would be sick. Not only am I a proponent of the Wii U's asynchronous capabilities, but I just think of all the cool stuff they could do now with the technology and the Switch 2's improved processing power. That's not to mention this paired with the new Joy-Con's mouse mode, this has some serious possibilities. Anyways, I'm not too certain that's the way they're gonna go, but honestly, who knows? I just mentioned a possible social feature for the Switch 2, so let's get into that a little more. Now, this is just pure speculation, but I was really hoping there'd be some sort of integrated social platform for the Switch 2, kind of like how Miiverse was on the 3DS and Wii U. Of course, you'll be able to share screenshots and videos and just make general posts about stuff, but I also think maybe there should be some sort of DM system to talk to your Switch friends directly. I also think it'd be cool to be able to connect to this same platform via a phone app so you can also have access to it anywhere you are. I also think it would be neat if there was some sort of video sharing aspect, kind of like how YouTube Shorts or TikTok works, where you can just post a game clip and stuff and, you know, be able to scroll through a bunch of different people's posts. I don't know, I just think that would be cool. I also think a full-on achievement system would work really well with this whole platform, and again, I think Nintendo has the opportunity to do this and bring some new life into their older Switch 1 titles. Moving on from that though, I hope the eShop gets an overhaul. It ran like ass on the Switch. Apparently this was because it was actually just a browser, not an actual application, which is just crazy to me. If they make it run better, add better search features, and bring back the shopping music, that would just be perfect.
Oh, and while we're on the topic of that, please, Nintendo, make the Switch 2 UI more inviting to use.
I remember when the Switch came out, and everybody was really enjoying the new clean look of the Switch, the UI and everything, but after a year or two with no menu music and the same black and white themes, it got boring fast. The Wii U and 3DS menus had so much more character, and I just hope that the Switch 2 channels that a bit more. Finally, I want to talk about Nintendo Switch Online a bit. I don't want to bitch too much here, but the servers really do stink. Only excusable because it's so cheap. Nintendo really needs to invest in actual servers for their top games. I'm done with this constant crashing. I also hope that we finally get GameCube games bundled with the premium plan. It's time. People have been asking for GameCube game virtual console since the Wii U, and oh yeah, they should just bring back the virtual console. I like having that large selection of games to play at my whim on the Nintendo Switch Online app, but it would just be nice to be able to buy those games one and done and be able to play them whenever I want without an internet connection or anything. Now, what games do I think will be launch titles for the Nintendo Switch 2? Well, of course, we saw what appeared to be Mario Kart 9, or I guess just the new Mario Kart in the reveal trailer, so I fully expect that to be a launch title. The only other title that we know about that I am 95% sure will be a launch title is Metroid Prime 4. Now, this game will actually be launching as a Switch title, but I'm assuming this is going to be sort of a Breath of the Wild Wii U Switch situation where it just comes out on both consoles on launch day. But that's about it for games that we actually know about. So what else do I think is going to be on the Switch's launch? We already have a pretty damn good single-player game with a great multiplayer experience, but I think we need some more variety still. And honestly, I'm really hoping that we get another Pilot Wings game. It was a launch title for both the 64 and 3DS, and I don't know, I just feel like it's time and fitting for whatever reason. I don't know if they'd go with their own unique art style, like Pilot Wings 64, or go back to some of the Mii sort of look with Resort, but either way, I'm fine. I want a new Pilot Wings, damn it. Along with this, I also think Nintendo's going to release some sort of snipper clips like local play game again. Not actually snipper clips, although that would be cool to get a full sequel to that game, but something along that style, a co-op couch game that sort of showcases what the Switch 2 can do. I also think just another full-on tech demo-like game to showcase the full hardware of the Switch 2 would be great. Of course, for the Wii, it was Wii Sports, and with the Switch, it was 1-2 Switch. One of those games is still heralded to this day as a pretty damn good experience, and the other is 1-2 Switch, which somehow got a sequel, never mind that. I honestly don't know if Nintendo would just make another throwaway game like 1-2 Switch again, especially seeing how much people still, to this day, really love the Wii Sports games. Of course, Nintendo Switch Sports came out on the Switch, and we could get a sequel to that, although I'm not sure that's too likely. I think some sort of unique game that feels really like a full experience that also fully showcases the Switch hardware, like the mouse mode and the C button, it would be really cool. It's likely also that there'll be some third-party games launching with the Switch too. I have no idea what that might be, but there's been plenty of rumors going around that games even like Red Dead Redemption 2 and some Xbox titles will be launching with the system. And if you know what, if that's true, that would be awesome. Of course, the other thing with the Switch launch is it doesn't need to be super great because it is backwards compatible with the Switch 1, and if there are in fact HD updates for those older games like Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, then there is plenty of stuff at launch for this console. Now, what games do I think will be coming out for the Switch 2's first year of life? Well, this year I definitely think we'll be getting a new 3D Mario. I think that's just a given. It's been 7 long years since Odyssey. Even if you count 3D World plus Bowser as the last 3D Mario, that was still 4 years ago. It's been way too long since our last 3D Mario game, guys. Of course, I'm fairly sure Nintendo has been cooking up a great experience this whole time. Some people think that it might be a Mario Odyssey sequel, but honestly, I don't think that's super likely. If Nintendo was going to make a sequel to Mario Odyssey, I think that would have just happened a couple years ago, which it hasn't. I don't see why they'd bring back Mario Odyssey if they weren't going to capitalize on it having a quick turnaround. It just doesn't make sense to me. I've also seen some things about Mario Galaxy 3, actually, which that would be cool, especially with the mouse mode and stuff, but again, I'm fairly sure this is going to be a brand new 3D Mario experience, and we'll just have to wait and see, though. Of course, speaking of games with the mouse mode possibility, of course, Mario Maker 3 would be really cool and likely. I don't know any specific features they could add or to improve. Maybe just a simple 3D Maker would be really neat, or just have some more themes and stuff. Add Mario Land, Mario 2, stuff like that. But honestly, a new Mario Maker just overall would be really cool. I also think it's another given that a Splatoon game will be coming out this year. Splatoon 3 came out in 2022, and that 3-year sort of wait is on par with the rest of the Splatoon game schedule. I also think a new Kirby game is in the running. I don't know if they'll take the 3D approach like the last one, which was honestly really cool, or more of a traditional or even HD re-release of something like Planet Robobot. Of course, Pokemon Legends ZA will be coming out sometime at the end of this year, though it will be for the original Nintendo Switch. Obviously, that means it's also going to be working on the Switch 2 as well, but noting that we are all the way in April now and the game still has an ambiguous coming 2025 release date, I'm assuming this can be some sort of holiday title, probably around November, October, but honestly, I'm really excited for this one. Animal Crossing New Horizons came out 5 years ago at this point, which is kind of crazy to think about, but also it is time for a new Animal Crossing. I think this year would be good, especially as maybe a mid to late summer, like a month or two after when the Switch would launch. I don't know what the gimmick or whatever it could be, but for this, I think it's just time for a new Animal Crossing. I also think it's time to bring back Tomodachi Life. People have been asking for this for years, and with Miitopia's new Mii creator and everything, it would just be a huge hit. I could go on a whole different tangent on what I'd want for a new Tomodachi Life game to be, but I think just the overall gist would be just more customizable options and more unique Mii interactions. Like, imagine if some Miis were just kind of dicks to each other and they influenced other Miis to also just act grouchy. What if certain groups of Miis turned on each other? I don't know. There's so many different ideas you could do. I'm just spitballing. But the opportunities for a new Tomodachi Life are just all over the place. While I was recording this, they actually did announce a new Tomodachi Life for the Switch coming out in 2026. So, yeah, that is kind of awesome. I can also be pretty sure that we're going to be getting some sort of new Nintendo IP this year. I don't really have any evidence for that, but I just feel like that's likely, you know, kind of like how ARMS was with the first year of the Switch's life, you know. I also think Switch is going to get a lot of third-party support. In its first year, it kind of has to, but I think Nintendo has fostered some really good support from developers over the Switch's life. They saw how successful that thing was, so with the new power of the system, I think it's very likely we'll be getting a lot of day one releases with both Xbox and PlayStation for those big third-party titles. Now, these are all games that I hope eventually come out sometime within the Switch 2's life, or just sort of games I hope Nintendo makes eventually. I'm going to start out here saying that we're going to get a new 3D Zelda. Of course, Tears of the Kingdom feels like it just came out, and that was 2 years ago at this point. Though, I still don't see Nintendo releasing a big 3D Zelda game for a while. I could see maybe 2027 at the earliest for a large game. I don't think it's going to be in the Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom format, but but most people could probably tell you that. I think it's going to be something completely new and original. Now, I do think there will be a new 2D Zelda coming out soon, and again, there was just that one that came out last year, so maybe 2026, but I think both of these are guaranteed within the Switch 2's life cycle. I think it's high time for Star Fox to make a return. Star Fox Zero is the last game to release, and I think that's just kind of crazy. That was 10 years ago at this point, and I think there's still a lot they could do with the series. Another series that's been forever since the last game was Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus Uprising, although I haven't played it, is critically renowned, and most people consider it to be one of the best 3DS games. And I know it's just seeing the rumors with all the mouse mode and stuff, I think this just kind of makes sense to have on the new Switch system. I think Sakurai's even been hinting at the fact that he's working on some non-Smash Brothers game, so who knows. Which does bring us to Smash Bros. Obviously, Smash Ultimate was such a huge game, and I think it's probably a likely contender for something to get a big HD patch or something, but I don't see a new Smash game coming out for a while. Now, I do, unlike others, think there will be a new Smash game within the Switch 2's life, but it's going to be a while. I think 2028, 2027 would make sense, as that would be around 10 years since Ultimate. You know what's crazy? I cannot believe it has been this long since the last Donkey Kong game. Nintendo re-released Tropical Freeze and, more recently, Returns. Their Twitter page won't shut the fuck up about it, but seriously, it is time for a new Donkey Kong game. I don't really care what they could do. It could be a new country game, it could be its own thing with the new Donkey Kong design they've been throwing around, or some 3D Donkey Kong, whatever. I don't care. We need Donkey Kong now. I also think we need some F-Zero up in here. 99's been fairly popular and fun, but you know, a new full F-Zero game is what we need. And when was the last time that happened? Decades ago? Pikmin is also likely to end up on the Switch too. It took fucking forever for Pikmin 4 to come out, but I think Pikmin 5 is going to have a lot shorter of a turnaround, especially since Pikmin 4 was such a big financial success in comparison to the rest of the series. Of course, this is a non-exhaustive list. I think there's plenty of other series Nintendo could release within the lifespan of their next console, but I think lastly, there's going to be some sort of return of some weird funky Nintendo series they've done in the past, something like Chibi Robo or even Rhythm Heaven. It's been forever since one of those games, but Nintendo has been bringing back some of the more obscure titles recently just with the Switch, so I can definitely see that happening.
So that's about all I have to say. Of course, all will be revealed on the April 2nd Direct, but until then, I'll be waiting patiently here in my basement. I, for one, am super excited for this next generation of Nintendo. The last few years, especially within the Nintendo sphere, have felt kind of boring. 2023 was like the last real year for the Switch, in my opinion. Yeah, there were some games that came out last year, but I don't know. It really wasn't. It was sort of just a weird lull, if you have to ask me. Honestly, it does feel like they were originally planning to release the console last year in 2024, and for whatever reason it got delayed, but what do I know? But that really is all I have to say about this. Again, the April 2nd reveal is only a few short days away, where we'll truly learn what this thing is about. But until then, goodbye!